Hello and welcome. It's 10 a.m. on Tuesday, the 23rd of September. You're tuned into our mid-morning newscast right here on ARIRANG TV. I'm Mark Broome. It's great to have you with us. Let's take a look at what's making the headlines. After nearly a decade of negotiations, South Korea and Canada have signed a free trade agreement to deepen the links between the two countries. They also raised their ties to a strategic partnership. North Korea's abysmal human rights record will be addressed at the ministerial level for the first time at the UN General Assembly in New York on Tuesday, local time. Plus, China is running away with the lead in the overall medal count at the Incheon Asian Games. South Korea remains in second with 14 golds. But our top story this morning. After nearly 10 years of talks, Korea has signed a free trade agreement with Canada. Now, this is a huge deal for both sides, as it is Canada's first such deal in the Asia-Pacific region, and it's going to give Korean automakers and Korean firms in general much better access to the very lucrative North American market. During President Park Geun-hye's state visit to Ottawa this week, the two sides have also upgraded their ties to a strategic partnership. Our Choi Yusun reports.
With the signing of a bilateral free trade agreement, Korea and Canada have elevated their relations to a strategic partnership, placing a greater emphasis on their political and economic cooperation and mutual trust. Seoul and Ottawa set global peace and co-prosperity as their shared goals. Aside from the signing of the FTA, the two partnering nations sealed a number of deals to increase cross-sharing of advanced technologies. For instance, Korea will offer its know-how from IT-based new energy industries such as the smart grid and energy storage system, in return for Canada's shale gas and oil sands exploration and development technologies.
We pushed for a memorandum of understanding to expand from cooperation in our strong clean energy technology to that of Canada's oil technology.
Korea's state-run power company, meanwhile, will test the self-sufficient microgrid system, a combination of renewable energy, energy storage, and smart grid technology in Canada. Canada will also share some of its activities in the Arctic with Korea.
Canada is geographically an Arctic nation, the chair of the Arctic Economic Council, and is currently building a research base there. Through the latest MOU, we will be able to jointly use Canada's Arctic base and explore mineral resources.
President Park Geun-hye and Prime Minister Stephen Harper will also expand their working holiday program to encourage more people-to-people exchanges. The Korean president secured Ottawa's support for her efforts to build trust towards the nuclear-free unified Korea. President Park is now in New York to carry out multilateral diplomacy at the United Nations. At Tuesday's UN Climate Summit, she will speak about building a growth engine out of the global problem by converging IT with culture and other sectors in a creative economy. Choi Yusun, ARIRANG News, New York.
Now, North Korea says it wants to join high-level talks on the country's human rights issues in a meeting set to be held on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. The meeting, chaired by US Secretary of State John Kerry, comes at a time of heightened international scrutiny of the North's abysmal human rights record. Our Kim Min-ji reports.
A high-level meeting discussing North Korea's human rights violations will be held on Tuesday local time on the sidelines of the UN General Assembly in New York. The meeting, which will be presided by U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry, will be attended by South Korea's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se, as well as diplomats from the European Union and Japan. The dire human rights situation in Pyongyang has come under greater international attention this year following the release of a report by the UN Commission of Inquiry that accuses North Korea's leaders of widespread, systematic and gross human rights violations. Kerry is expected to condemn North Korea's human rights abuses, focusing on its political prison camps, and he will also likely bring up the issue of the 3 Americans detained in the north. The meeting is aimed at garnering support for a UN resolution on the issue. Pyongyang is also asked to attend the meeting. Speaking to South Korean reporters, the North Korean ambassador to the UN, Cha Sung-nam, said the North was waiting for an answer.
We told the U.S. that we will attend the talks. If the meeting is focused on North Korean issues, we should attend. We are waiting for an answer from Washington. If they really want to solve this issue through dialogue, we see no reason why they would turn us down.
However, the ambassador struck a more negative tone in regards to a potential meeting between the foreign ministers of the two Koreas on the sidelines of the UN gathering. He said talks should be held in Korea and not in a foreign country or international organization, as they are from the same country. North Korea sent its foreign minister Lee Soo-young and vice foreign minister to New York. Lee will address the General Assembly later this week. Kim Min-ji, ARIRANG News.
North Korea has once again condemned the sending of anti-Pyongyang leaflets across the border, saying that South Korea should not call for talks with the North anymore. The North issued a statement on Monday calling the act a challenge against their efforts for dialogue and to improve inter-Korean relations. Now, a group of South Korean civic activists launched balloons carrying anti-Pyongyang leaflets into the sky, as you can see there, from Paju on Sunday. The statement said South Korea can no longer mention things like dialogue or trust, adding it will not respond to any proposals for talks with Seoul. It also warned of retaliation against the activists who launched the balloons, and that could come at any time. Now, we don't want to get too carried away, but there's renewed hope the months-long deadlock at South Korea's National Assembly may be nearing an end. Moon Hee-sang, the new interim leader of Korea's main opposition party, and Kim Moo-sung, who is the chairman of the ruling party, held talks on Monday for the first time since Moon was chosen to lead the opposition party late last week. Both of them agreed to urge the floor leaders of their respective parties to meet with their counterparts to try and find a resolution to this extremely contentious Sewol-ho ferry bill, over which the main opposition, New Politics Alliance for Democracy, is boycotting all parliamentary proceedings. The ruling party plans to carry on with its sessions this week, with or without the opposition, and pass scores of bills, around 90 in fact, related to the economy and public welfare. Now, hot on the heels of its announcement to raise cigarette prices by 80% next year, the Korean government says it plans to plough tens of millions of dollars into public anti-smoking campaigns. Our Park Ji-won reports.
Lee Jae-wook is one of many in the country who have decided to quit smoking before the cigarette price hike takes effect. He's used every method he knows to try and kick the habit, including gargling solutions and physical exercise.
I feel an urge to smoke again when I'm stressed out, or when I see people around me smoking.
Doctors say nicotine withdrawal symptoms are much more short-lived than most think, lasting only a few days, although it varies person to person.
Intense nicotine withdrawal symptoms generally last around 7 to 10 days, so it's important to endure and get through those first 10 days.
But that's easier said than done. To encourage smoking cessation and nip the addicted habit in the bud altogether, the Korean government has expanded its anti-smoking campaign budget for next year to $145 million. That's more than 13 times the $11 million allocated for 2014. About 35% of the budget will pay for anti-smoking programs targeting teens.
Currently, 25% of male high school seniors smoke. We will focus on anti-smoking campaigns for adolescents as they represent the future of the nation's health.
To tackle the problem of young smokers, the government says it will implement anti-smoking education from elementary to high schools and teen counseling support centers nationwide. To stem the country's tobacco epidemic, the government plans to work with health and community centers to offer diverse anti-smoking services, even setting up special support programs to help all active soldiers. Park Ji-won, ARIRANG News.
Okay, well, it's that time of the newscast where we get a check on the international headlines we're following on this Tuesday morning. For that, we turn to our Eunice Kim, standing by at the news centre. Good morning, Eunice.
Hello, Mark.
Now, let's begin with the Islamic State offensive in Syria, and we're getting news of a bit of respite. Kurdish forces are making some ground, in fact, fending off these extremists.
You're absolutely right, Mark. It appears the Kurds are managing to keep the IS group back for now. A spokesman for the Kurdish militia YPG said while fighting continues, it had stopped the extremists' advance to the predominantly Kurdish border town of Kobani, a region that has seen some of the fiercest clashes since the IS group launched strikes last Tuesday. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights confirmed the resistance, saying the jihadists had not made a significant push in the past 24 hours. This is the Islamic State group's second attempt to conquer Kobani since June of this year. In July, hundreds of Kurds from neighboring Turkey had crossed over to fight off the militants. The spokesman said hundreds of young fighters from Turkey were helping to resist this current offensive, though some were blocked by Turkish police. And the battles near its border is complicating matters for Turkey, a country that has been distancing itself from public endorsement of the U.S.-led coalition against the Islamic State. More than 130,000 Syrians in the past 3 days have poured into Turkey, according to Ankara and UNHCR, the largest influx of refugees since Syria's civil war began more than 3 years ago. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights puts that figure for the displaced actually closer to 200,000. UNHCR warns the group of mostly women, children, and the elderly could grow as its envoy to Turkey called for international assistance, saying food, blankets, and winter clothing, particularly for children, were needed. And on to an update on the Ebola epidemic now. A 3-day nationwide lockdown in Sierra Leone was lifted late Sunday as authorities there declared the measure to control the Ebola outbreak a success. They said staff visited more than 1 million households to survey for bodies and educate residents about the highly contagious hemorrhagic virus, registering also 130 new cases of Ebola infections. The WHO said on Monday more than 2,800 people have died of the disease in West Africa, but that the situations in Nigeria and Senegal were largely contained. The UN had said it would cost about $1 billion to contain the virus now, but less than half of that has been raised. A new opening weekend sales record for U.S. tech giant Apple. 10 million units of the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus flew off the shelves in the Friday through Sunday period in 10 countries, beating a previous record held by their predecessors, the iPhone 5C and 5S last year, by a full million. And unlike last year, China was not among the first batch of countries to receive a shipment due to regulatory issues, though other Asian countries like Hong Kong, Japan, and Singapore were. Apple said the new phones will be available in 20 more countries by the end of this week and are due to reach 115 others by the end of the year.
And a good Tuesday morning to you all as we continue on with our 2014 Asian Games coverage, starting off with men's swimming. Now, certainly a lot of disappointed fans on Sunday when Park Tae-hwan finished third in the 200-meter freestyle event. But later tonight, it's redemption time as the Marine boys set to compete in the 400-meter freestyle event. Now, in round 2 of the battle between Park Tae-hwan and Soon-young of China, Kusuke Higano has joined in on the rivalry after winning the 200-meter freestyle gold. But it seems like Soon-young, who was the slight favorite in the 400-meter event, has injured his thumb and will not be 100% as he decided to pull out of the 800-meter event on Monday. And now shifting over to nail-biting gold medal finish by the South Korea women's 25-meter pistol team after beating China for the top podium spot on Monday. And a fierce battle between the two rivals, the team of Kim Jang-mi, Lee Jung-eun, and Kwak Jung-hae scored a combined 1,747 points, which was just a single point ahead of China. Meanwhile, India would finish in third place for the bronze medal after scoring 1,729 points. And now moving over to fencing, Shinaram, who made headlines during the 2012 London Olympics after the 1-second controversy cost her the gold medal, went after her first individual épée gold in the Asian Games as she went up against China's Sun Weijie. And a back-and-forth match as Shinaram scores a crucial point with just 13 seconds left to tie the match at 5-5, but the third-ranked Chinese fencer pulls through with the winning point in the sudden death round as Shinaram settles for another silver medal. And shifting over to the baseball tournament where the South Korean national team went into their first game against Thailand on Monday. With SK Wyverns ace Kim Kwang-hyun taking the mound for the South Korean national team, he got all the run support he needed in the first inning as they scored 8 runs in the inning. Big night for NC Dino slugger Na Sung-bum, who went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs and 2 runs scored as Thailand manages just 2 hits in the game. Korea goes on to win 15-0 as the game is called after 5 innings of play. And now let's finish things off with the medal count after 4 days of the Incheon Asian Games as South Korea added several more medals on Monday, including a bronze medal in the men's 800-meter relay swimming. And that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Said that a team of South Korea.
Get connected to Korea and the world. Join us every weekday for the latest developments out of Korea, Asia, and beyond. On air, on your mobile, and online, we lead the way every day. ARIRANG News.
To try and resolve the crisis in Ukraine, the European Union also offers 15 billion. Korean automakers Hyundai Motor and Kia Motors are doing pretty well in China. Their combined market share in the world's second biggest economy is expected to reach a 9-year high this year. Industry sources say Hyundai and Kia sold over 1.1 million cars in China during the first 8 months of this year, with the combined market share standing at 10.6%. That figure is the highest since 2005, when they accounted for 11% of the Chinese market. With the automaker's newly released models, analysts forecast they'll surpass that mark this year. However, other analysts say it remains to be seen whether they'll maintain a 10% plus market share, since Hyundai and Kia did not get approval from the Chinese government on their plan to establish 4 manufacturing plants in the country. Korea's largest web portal, Naver, says there will be no IPO this year for its Japan-based affiliate, Line. Naver says Line, which operates a popular messaging app in the same name, is considering going public in the US and Japan, but they say the timing is not right at the moment. This comes 2 months after Naver said it was considering an overseas stock market listing. Launched over 3 years ago now, Line says it now has more than 500 million users worldwide. Now, walk down the street, even right here in tech-savvy Seoul, and you'll be hard-pressed to find many people, if anyone at all, wearing a smartwatch. But that might all be about to change, because analysts say the smartwatch market is expected to take some giant leap forward in the next couple of years. IT research firm Gartner predicts that smartwatches will account for 40% of all consumer wrist-worn devices by the year 2016. The firm forecasts that consumers will start showing more of an interest in smartwatches when the Apple Watch hits the market next year. It also points to China's growing presence in the industry as a factor, especially once they start flooding the market with more affordable models. However, Gartner did point out one major challenge that smartwatch developers have to overcome, namely the short battery life of these gadgets. Now, in health news, dementia is a terrifying affliction that devastates not only the life of the victim, but also their families family members and friends. As a country with a rapidly aging population, there are urgent calls for Korea to boost the amount of funding for dementia research. Figures show, in fact, that by 2024, so just in 10 years' time, 1 million Koreans will develop the disease. Our Son Jung-in reports.
In January, the father and grandparents of a popular K-pop singer were found dead at their home. The father, who had been the sole caregiver for his parents who were both suffering from dementia, took his own life after murdering them. The incident had raised the alarm about senile dementia, which is a dreadful disease that can have horrible consequences for a family. In Korea, the incident rate for dementia is growing at a rapid rate in relation to Korea's aging population. According to data, there are 6 million citizens currently aged 65 and over in the country. That figure is expected to grow to nearly 10 million by the year 2024. Over the same period, the number of dementia sufferers is forecast to surge 77% to 1 million. In other words, roughly 1 in 10 seniors will suffer from the disease in 10 years. And the population is estimated to age even faster in 2030, when 1 in 7 elderly citizens will be diagnosed.
Dementia occurs more often in people who are in their 70s and 80s than those who are in their 60s. It's worrisome since the proportion of elderly in that age range is growing at an alarming speed.
With dementia emerging as one of the major social challenges in Korea, experts say the government should act more aggressively to guarantee everyone a satisfactory level of life. Son Jung-in, ARIRANG News.
Now, a great many people use things like air sterilizers and purifiers to help minimize the amount of dust, germs, and just general bad stuff we inhale on a day-to-day basis. However, if they're poorly maintained, they can actually make the air even worse than it is normally. But all is not lost, as local scientists here in Korea say they've worked out a way to make this maintenance process much more easier. Our Kim Hyun-bin reports.
This is an air sterilizer installed in an elementary school classroom. The filter is full of all sorts of dust and germ particles. It's a problem that schools, hospitals, and a whole host of public facilities are faced with. If the filter is not maintained, the germs will multiply at a rapid rate. But a group of international scientists, including Korean experts, has developed a specialized air filter that aims to make the process easier. The key is silver nanotechnology that coats the filter's surface, sterilizing and killing E. coli and other germs that can cause health problems. The effect can be seen through a microscope.
The nanotechnology is similar in size to the bacteria, and as soon as contact is made, the germs are ripped apart.
To test the filter, researchers blew in the germs at a speed of 2 meters per second. But the nanotechnology wouldn't budge.
Even with the AC on full blast, the filter continued doing its job, killing all the germs that passed through.
Germs can lead to any number of diseases, but this breakthrough is increasing hopes that their spread can be mitigated. Kim Hyun-bin, ARIRANG News.
The 16th typhoon of the season, Foong-Wang, is still traveling to northward, but it's expected to dissipate before reaching to Korean peninsula. But the thick rain clouds that were formed around the typhoon will drop heavy showers to Korean peninsula. So the southern provinces will be directly affected by it from this afternoon, receiving light rainfall. But tomorrow, the entire nation will see torrential rainfall of up to 150 millimeters. So for today, depends on where you are. The daytime highs and weather conditions during the day can be quite different, but it's going to be a sunny day for here in Seoul, reaching to 28, while Gwangju and Busan should see a mix of showers and clouds from early hours. Now for other regions, it looks like Jeju Island will be seeing heavy showers throughout the day, and people in Daejeon will notice increasing clouds and should start to receive rain from this afternoon. And the weather outlook in Incheon, where the Asian Games are being held, should have a fine day today as well, just like here in Seoul. But it's expected to rain a lot tomorrow, so some of the games that are taking place outdoors might be canceled. But on Thursday, the weather will return to calm and fine autumn day. Well, that's all I have for you at this hour, and let's send it back to Mark in the studio.
Well, thank you very much, Jeon, for the weather there. And that's all we have for now. Best of luck to all the Korean athletes from the north and the south taking part in the Incheon Asian Games. We'll bring you more updates at noon Korea time for our next newscast. Until then, goodbye.